Yeah, for sure. My name is Jason. I grew up on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. Moved to Vancouver about 8, 9 years ago. Started my cleaning business in October of last year. So, the better part of a year I've been working on it now. I still work full time at a job. But yeah, that's brief overview.
Awesome. So, what were some of your favorite things to do as a kid growing up?
Honestly, just playing sports, playing in the countryside. Just gonna close this 1 second here. Hot in this room. Yeah, just honestly, just playing sports in the countryside, playing basketball, hockey, skateboarding as a kid, going to the rivers, the mountains, and all the fun stuff you can do on the island.
Excellent. Were you on teams or was it just solo with friends at the park, kind of on the weekend, sort of thing?
Yeah, I played lots of team sports. So yeah, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, and then skateboarding, solo stuff, and uh, whatever that we could do as kids, we tried and did. So
Perfect. When you were younger, did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up? Were you thinking about that kind of all the time, or just living it up as a kid, not really caring and figuring out as you went along?
yeah, I mean, I think it was mostly figuring it out as I went along. But up until the point where the 11th, 12th grade of high school, didn't really know like what was out there. Um, and I thought I have a view that I still hold that the career services at high schools can be much better. You just have no idea what's out there. I mean, now it's changing. It's changed a bit because of the internet, and you have so much access to information. But I just had no idea what to do. I was just good at math and physics, so I was like, okay, I'll just go into engineering. I guess like that's what I'll do. So I chose mechanical engineering at that point, but didn't really have a good sense of would what would be fulfilling to me, what I would really like to do. It took time to figure that out.
I guess nobody really knows when they're younger. They're like, "Oh, when I grow up, I'm gonna be a cleaning service owner." Business in general, but not necessarily anything specific. So,
Yeah.
anybody in your family a business owner?
um, my mom, she has, well, I guess my mom and my dad, um, they're separated, but my mom was a realtor for many years, so she had her own business there on the island. Same with my dad; he had kind of a solo uh, practice for law practice. So yeah, they. I mean, it's not really like you're not managing a whole bunch of employees and stuff, but you do have your own business to manage your customers, to generate, etc. So
Right.
there's
When you're in sales, you gotta find your own leads. You gotta nurture them. You gotta go through the whole process. It's the same as marketing for a business.
yeah, exactly. And then my mom's business, you know, it it's basically just purely referrals nowadays because she's built it up and provided really good quality, really good service, and so she doesn't really have to market much. It just comes for free now. So
That's excellent. That's the best way to get your sales is word of mouth referrals. The less cost it is to you out of pocket, the more return is the best you can get. So
yeah.
your experience, background, did you go to college? What college you go to? Give us some in depth on that.
Yeah, for sure. So I did my mechanical engineering degree at UVic, University of Victoria, on Vancouver Island in BC. So it's Victoria is like it's actually the capital of BC, but it's much smaller than Vancouver. There's about 500,000 people in the town or in the city, and and yeah, so I did my mechanical engineering degree there. Did like I did a it took longer to graduate than um, the typical 4-year undergraduate degree, but that was partly because we did a co-op program where you would go work every 4 months and then come back to school every 4 months. And then on top of that, I also did this competition um, with uh, some of the core sponsors were the U.S. Department of Energy and General Motors, and some large tier one OEMs. And we built this, we designed and built this 450 horsepower hybrid electric vehicle. And so I took like a lot of time out of my undergrad to do that. And we went and compete against, we had one other Canadian university in the competition, which was Waterloo. And there was like uh, 13 other American universities that, much larger, had entire automotive departments, and went down to the year one competition in Los Angeles. And for the work I was responsible for, we actually got first place. And so it was like it was
Excellent.
yeah, it was really cool. It was really good experience. It was like a lot of engineering, like hardcore engineering design and build work, and then presenting it to all these like executives of like General Motors and stuff. Um, and yeah, it was a great experience. I thought I was gonna like go to Tesla or something after that, but I ended up getting a job, a really high paying job out in the oil fields, and I was like, I got to pay my students' loans off and stuff. So I was like, okay, this is the fastest way to do that, and that was true. But um, yeah, circuitous route over time. But yeah.
Perfect. So let's go a little bit more into the business now. When I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but when exactly did you start the business?
I launched it officially in October of last year. Excuse me, I just got a little bit of frog in my throat. But yeah, launched it in October of last year. I was sort of planning it since May of 2022, but really wasn't doing much work on it up until September. And the start of September into October is when I really started ramping everything up so that I could launch in October. And yeah, been operating it ever since then.
And when did you have your first booking in October? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like October 15th or 16th, something like that,
So
or
mid month.
14th. Yeah, in the middle of the month. Yeah.
And why? What's your why? Why did you start the business?
Um, for me, like it's the idea of having you know, $10,000 a month in income, um, which I think is very doable. Having that kind of income and then making it as passive as possible is just extremely valuable to me. It frees my time up so much. I don't have to worry about finances at that point. I can do so many things. I can grow the business more. I can also start other businesses. I can do whatever. I just like I realize my time is so valuable. And yeah, so that's kind of the goal, is to free up my time, and then also, build and grow the business to the point where it's more than sustaining my lifestyle, and continue to grow it and acquire other cleaning businesses locally and etc. But then also free my time up to do other things as well.
So did you want this as an additional stream of income, or did you want this as your main stream of income? Do you are you working on it full time, or do you have a job as well?
I have a job, so I work in the office about 60 to 70 hours a week.
Oh my
So
goodness.
um, so my so I had to start this thing from day one with a VA in place, like answering the phone, managing all the bookings. So like the way I would frame it, it's like my focus from the very start has been to build goodwill. I mean, I don't really, the business is not saleable at this point. It's too small, but that's been like the guiding, that's been the North Star of my approach, is to build it where I am truly separated from all the marketing, sales, and operations and hiring, etc. of the business. I've almost done that already, even though I'm at a small scale. There's still a ton of work that I have to put in to grow it, but the day to day is basically covered. And I haven't been able to be involved in the day to day basically at all since I started it. So I had to set it up like that from the start, because my job is just so demanding.
And what's the job that you have?
We are building. The company's called Hive. We're building a tech platform for trading private securities, so venture-backed unicorns mostly, and just large venture-backed companies, um, trading the common shares of employees and the preferred shares of institutions between typically institutional investors.
Okay. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And now going back to the VA that you hired in the beginning, was it an experienced VA? Like, did they already work with several other cleaning services? Did they know, like, did they help you along the way in the beginning, or did you already know, like, hey, this is how I want to do it, and you're gonna follow that?
Yeah, it was mostly me directing. She did have a bit of experience at another cleaning company, but because I'm like the owner and I'm so incessantly focused on everything, like it was me directing like what needs to be done, the scripts, everything. Like I would come home at night and I would listen to the calls. And those early stages were really, really challenging because I was so busy at work and like I had just so much to do to get the business off the ground. So I was like listening to the calls and then realizing like everything we needed to change in the call. So I would write out all the scripts, how to handle all these different situations, kind of codify that into Notion, etc. And and she's improved a lot over time, but it was partly also my systems and my processes were just changing all the time because I was like, why are we doing fixed price for this? Why are we doing hourly? Like, what is the logic here? And so I was experimenting and changing things a lot. Now I think I've got something that's decent now, but probably will make tweaks still going forward. But you kind of found a rhythm after many months experimenting. So
It's definitely tough if you don't have that rhythm. And I mean, for you, 50, 60, 70 hours a week at your main income, and then coming home exhausted, trying to figure out what you need to do with your business takes not even another gear, but like 10 more gears just to keep going through that. So big props to you for doing that. I don't know a lot of people who'd be able to put up that many hours in just a job alone, let alone start a side business as well. So very huge of you. Um,
thank
so
you.
how much did you invest in the business when you first started? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I invested probably I would say 6 to 7 thousand dollars, maybe a bit more. But yeah, possibly even a bit more than that. But most of it was like a program that I entered. I think that the problem is like I was so busy, and I think looking back, I just hindsight is 2020, but I could have figured out most of those things myself, and I could have the startup cost could have been much lower. However, like it's fine. I think that that's not a lot of money anyway to start a business, like 6 7 thousand dollars. That's like if you can't start a business, if you don't have the money to spend, like then you probably should just wait a little bit longer to start something anyway, right? So it could be done on a much more shoestring budget. I did things like I did all the corporate like filing, that kind of stuff, myself. So I saved money there. Didn't use a service for that. But yeah, I think you could probably do it for a few $1,000s.
If you could cut and streamline some things, what would you have cut and streamlined for whatever reason?
I would have cut out I would have cut out the money that I spent on the program. I didn't feel that I got that much value out of it, to be frank. I think I've actually thought about doing something like that myself, but doing it much better. Um, and I mean that's a side point, but yeah, I wouldn't have spent the money on that, and that would have been the vast majority of the cost savings.
And how much was the program roughly?
I mean, it was like in American dollars, and I think, and so for me, in Canadian dollars, it was probably like $6,000 or something.
So basically your whole startup was in that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay. And since October, from that first booking, how much revenue have you done since you started?
Now I can double check it here, but let me just see. I think it's about 115. Um, I'll give you the exact amount if you'd like. I mean, this is a question I have about the um the revenue that shows on the reports page. It shows 116,700, and that's in Canadian dollars. Um, but my understanding is when I reconcile that in my books, that's like the grossed up amount that includes the 5% tax. When I look on that report page, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. Uh, just a slight thing that, like, if I was looking at revenue, I wouldn't personally want to see the tax included in that because it's not revenue. But
Okay. Well, there is going to be, we have in our plans an overhaul for the report section, more in depth stuff, be able to filter without service fees and stuff like that. And that's coming. So, um,
cool.
yeah, just wanted to
It's
let
a
you
good proxy. It gets you right there. Like, it gets you
know.
within 5%, so it's fine. But yeah.
Let's go a little bit more into hiring. Talk to us about your hiring funnel. What have you tried that has worked really well? What have you tried that, you aren't ever going to do again?
Um, hmm, Good question. What's for hiring? I would say hiring is much harder when you're just starting out. Like, that's the really hard part because, I mean, this business is like, if you don't have redundancy, it's so much harder. So when you have your first cleaner, like, you don't have a backup, they call sick, like, you're just totally screwed. So, and it's hard to find that first person. I found them through Indeed, and I think that's still the best way to, like, find quality people, although you've got to filter through like 50 to 100 people to find one decent candidate, because I don't know why Indeed works this way, but they don't filter like where the location the person is applying from, so that you have people from all over the world applying for a local job here. It doesn't make sense, but anyway, so you got to filter through a lot of people, but Indeed does work out quite well. That's how I got my first cleaner. From there I got referrals. um, she would refer other people to the business. And then over time, like, there's just the number of like LSA calls I get that are like cleaners looking for work. I mean, we have a policy now. It's just like, oh, you're looking. Sorry, I'm gonna have to call you back. Sorry, no, hang up the phone so that LSA doesn't like charge us for it. Like, we reckon, oh yeah, they actually didn't want that lead, and they were clear about it. That's not a lead. So,
Right.
but then we call them back and we get their details and say, hey, okay, like, I mean, yeah, maybe you'll be a good fit. Let's see. So there's that. Um, I got one through Facebook, a Facebook group. Um,
Is
at
it
this,
effective now in Canada? Is that effective? Is Facebook groups to get cleaners effective? Have you tried it like a lot, or were you sticking mainly towards the other things?
no, I haven't spent a lot of time on it. I really haven't. I've got plans to really target Facebook groups soon, but I've just been getting so many other things in place. Like, yeah, I've just been focused on other things, but I'm going to soon.
Okay,
Mostly, but to be clear, mostly not to hire cleaners, mostly to generate business. But yeah.
I see. And is there a reason why you haven't really chosen Facebook groups for hiring?
Um, it just, like, as I said, in the early stages, it was hard and it was stressful trying to find new people. Now I've got my VA doing the hiring essentially. There's some checks there that I have, but it's just like the flow of people is much more robust now. So, like, you kind of like turned that, you both open that valve, and it's just not as much of an issue anymore. So I haven't even really like thought about different channels because, like, I've got enough people coming knocking at the door.
Good. And Tell me how your funnel goes in terms of once you got the applicant. Once you got the application in, what are the next steps that follow?
Yeah, so excuse me. So the application, I wanna change this. I'm gonna have a form that I use a bit more so that the cleaners can fill out the form. I'm actually just overhauling my website entirely. And I'm gonna be working on all the final copy touches, but one of the things this weekend, but one of the things that I'm going to add there is like a careers or careers page or something like that where you have a form and it's like all the key details in the form. Please like submit your application here. And just so like we don't have to be requesting that stuff over email or text, can you let me know if you have a car? Or how much cleaning experience do you have? Do you have the supplies? All that kind of stuff. I'll just get that like immediately. Um, and then so I'm good. So like that's going to be the first step kind of now is getting that information. Then uh, if they meet our criteria, which has kind of changed over time. I originally always wanted them to have a car, and now I'm much more flexible if they don't. You can have these like tote carrying bags that have wheels, and you can carry your stuff along with you if you're willing to do that. And hopefully, I can get more and more business so that the jobs are closer to each of these people, and then it makes that model even easier. But right now, uh, the if they meet the criteria after we get that information, then the VA will interview them. First pass interview, take notes. We'll go through that. Uh, After, oh, did it freeze?
Nope.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I heard a sound. Um, and she'll take notes. Then basically, if we're good with the person, we'll do a background check and then a test clean. And yeah, go from there.
So your background check is towards the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever have it any other place in the beginning, or was it
No, I
always
don't.
back there?
Yeah, because I don't like you'd want to interview them first and everything, and I've kind of filtered between doing a test clean before and after the background check. It's hard to like if you're doing tons of background checks. It's like, man, that's expensive.
Right.
I don't. It's a tricky thing. I don't. I'm not sure what the right answer is there, and still trying to work that out. But
I don't believe there's a right or wrong answer. I would just curious because I know some people, not a lot do it in the beginning, or they start off doing it in the beginning and realize that when you're on a mass hire for providers, it does get expensive very quickly, especially if they're not doing well. They're not sticking, and you got to keep,
yeah,
keep that momentum going. So it's either more towards the middle or for the most part at the end. And you are running independent contractors or employees?
yeah, subcontractors. Yeah.
And what's your reasoning behind choosing contractors?
Right, I couldn't have done the employees to start. I mean, it's just like it just would have added too much complexity to everything. Um, and I think I will definitely eventually hire employees. Uh, I think I'll kind of maintain relationships with all the subcontractors that I've been working with, and I mean, some of those, some subset of those over time. But I will eventually move, I think, to a core base of employees, and there's several reasons for that. Um, but the subcontractor model is very flexible and just very easy to get up and running with. Um,
So
and
then
so
uh, what would be your reasoning to switch later on? If I mean, I'm just curious because I have had some people do it that way. Start independent contractor and then go towards employees. But what's your reasoning behind wanting to do that?
yeah, so the whole there's a reason I believe that you can charge, $50+ an hour cleaning somebody's home, and you have to charge 35, 40 to do commercial work. I mean, one is that you get way more business from them, and so you have to drop your gross margin so that you're not making like 35% pre-tax. Like that's a crazy, crazy margin. And the reason you're able to charge those prices in residential is because there's this trust factor that's just very different. You're in these people's homes. This is my kind of my view on it as I've learned more about the business. But like you're able to charge these premium prices, but you're only so the like trust is the most core component there, and obviously doing a good job and customer service, like the clean has to be well done well, and the whole package has to be there. But trust is a really big component of that, and it's hard to build the same level of trust with subcontractors as it is with employees who you can have their pictures on your websites, profiles of them, wearing your gear and logo, um, having the same people come back again on a consistent basis, with like all of like set materials and supplies that they have. You can have there's you can like have like different scents that you can say here's like you can pick your scent. You can do so many like little like
You have more
customizable.
control. It's the
Just like
control over them.
it's the control which like I think builds the trust to have this like person in your home. You're like, oh, I see that. Yeah, I see them on the website. I see like the whole um, process, which I don't think like a commercial building would care as much about.
Well, I mean, even with contractors, you could do a profile page, and as long as they're not wearing, you're not forcing them to wear, your branded clothing. Um, that's all still fine. But I get what you're saying, where you're building that trust by just, having that control over the employees and telling them, hey, this is how we do things. This is, it has to be this way versus
Yeah,
we ask you to do it this way. Please keep doing it this way. And if they
yeah,
don't, it's fine because they don't have to because they are contracted out. But it, I get that sense. But do you feel that you can, build trust with your contractors and build trust enough with your customers where that's all seamless together and you don't have to switch over?
yeah. I mean, it's definitely. I think it's definitely possible. I mean, the risk of circumvention too is higher with subcontractors, right? And so if you have somebody that really likes the person and they're just like, okay, I'm just going to go direct to this. They're not an employee. You don't have this like non-compete. I mean, honestly, those things are all like you would never go after a cleaner for that anyway. It's like it's such a yeah. uh, but it does add kind of a mental barrier to that thing. But yeah, I mean, in your idea about adding the subcontractor profiles to the website, maybe that's a really good one. Maybe I hadn't like thought about that as an option before. I just haven't seen any other businesses that use subcontractors do that. But maybe I'm sure you've seen tons of websites, so maybe you have a different view on that.
I mean, if you want to check one out, I know my partner, Philip, King of Maids, on their Instagram page, they just do provider appreciation, and it's the provider's picture with, uh, a recent 5-star review that a customer left. And that's kind of their way of showcasing their providers and, building that bridge and connection between them and the customer, that them and the provider, and then all three of them.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's interesting. King of Maids Instagram. I'll look at that.
So there's always ways that you can, build that trust and that brand awareness. And again, it's all relevant to what you want to do. If you want your cleaners, walking around wearing your business name, absolutely, you can do that. I mean, you could still make shirts and give them out to your providers and ask them to wear it, but you can't force them to wear it. That's the biggest thing. So,
Yeah.
let's go a little bit into marketing now. What are your marketing strategies? Um, what have you done that works? What have you done that you're going to stay away from? What have you not tried yet?
Yeah. So for marketing, the core of my business has been and still is Google LSA. So that's like, yeah, that's where like 90% of leads come from. Got a couple of referrals. Uh, we've I'm working on the whole website overhaul right now. So doing all like the SEO strategy. I've got somebody building backlinks, and I'm building the website out. And I should have the website new one done hopefully this long weekend. It's been a work in progress for 4 weeks now, but I think it's gonna be really, really valuable.
A quick question to just stop you. Are you building it Wix, WordPress, Squarespace, Weebly, or are you using the Booking Koala builder?
I was using I had like a pretty crappy Squarespace website before, and now I've got somebody in India helping me build a WordPress website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could go back to the marketing. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so another thing about marketing that we've been doing is cold email outreach and cold calling realtors. Um, so I've got one of my VAs. We've set up this whole like cold email campaign, this drip campaign of like follow up emails and texts. Um, and then after we send the first cold email, like 2 days later, they call them, and it's been like somewhat successful. We're kind of ironing out a lot of kinks there still right now, but we've got several leads, like probably 5 or 6 leads over the past few weeks doing that, and some that like are going to be seemingly quite recurring, like recurring quite a bit. Um, sorry, and that's been a really good way to like I think test the waters with the whole cold outreach strategy because there's so much business that can be generated that way, more in the B2B space, um, but also with property managers, of course, and realtors. There's the thing is with realtors, there are about 11,000 realtors in Metro Vancouver, or maybe even more. I think that's the number though. And so there's like it's just a massive pool that if you screw up with like your first 100 of them, like your outreach strategy and something, it's like maybe you emailed them too many times, or like your copy wasn't great, or your offer wasn't like written well enough, or your the script for the cold call wasn't as dialed in as it should be. You can kind of work that out, and you can just go to the next batch. And so, and also, they're just not as important. They're important customers, but they're not as like they're not going to give as much business as like a property manager, right? Because property managers they're just constantly dealing with those move in, move outs. That's like what their the vast majority of their work is. So I mean, maybe I'm oversimplifying that, but that's a big component of it. So I haven't tackled that one yet because I feel like in that space we have to be so dialed in that like I got one-star review. Everything else I've got is like 5-star reviews, and it was on the LSA profile, not on the Google My Business profile. But it was this property manager that she said we canceled on her last minute. She actually asked us for a same day booking, and then we tried to find somebody and couldn't find somebody, and then she wrote us a 1-star review because we couldn't find somebody. And I was like, oh my god, come on! Like we tried to find somebody for you and couldn't. You called last minute, but it's like it's so obvious because for her, she has somebody else moving in, and like if they have to delay it a few weeks or whatever, it's going to be thousands of dollars. Somebody's going to eat that cost, and so for them, that place needs to be cleaned on time. So you have to have like maybe relationships with other cleaning companies or whatever, but just that job has to get done, similar to Airbnb. So like I don't want to screw those up. As I want to go into them eyes wide open with all the redundancy measures in place. But those will be important marketing channels as well. The property managers, Airbnb managers, and I'll still keep doing the realtor stuff. And yeah,
I definitely do like the cold outreach to realtors and property managers. That's something I feel like is a lost art almost in a sense that I mean everybody's doing whatever business you're in, whether it's drop shipping, e-commerce, yeah, you know, YouTube, whatever it is. Everybody's doing SEO, paid ads, Google LSA. It's all they're all competing for that, but they're not doing basically free hard work. You know,
Yeah.
how hard is it to pick up? I mean, they're not really existing anymore, but a yellow pages, those thick 10,000 page books of everybody's phone number.
Yeah.
We're just, scraping a list, going website to website, which I have done before. I have gone through thousands of websites and scoured for emails, phone numbers, what have you, just to get a 5-minute conversation. If you're willing to do that, that will take you so far and just building your salesperson persona. And I'm not saying you need to have anybody needs a persona like that, but those are like building block skills
Yeah.
where if you have that, everything else you can learn will come naturally. But doing this, not everybody could do it. Not everybody can, pick up the phone and just, you know, on the first go, get on the phone with the realtor, be like, hey, I'm 2 miles away. This is my name. This is my business. I know you work this area for the last 15 years selling real estate. Not pushing you on anything, not selling you on anything. But if you ever have clients that need a cleaning service, here's my number, here's my website. They'll get 15% off if you refer them, stuff like that. So my hat's off to you because that's, personally, I believe it's a lost art, but I believe it'll
Yeah.
work out.
And yeah, for sure. And like this was not a natural thing for me either. I mean, somewhat. I mean, I've done a lot of like to get jobs and stuff, but this job that I've been working now for about a year, like I'm literally cold calling like like managing partners at private equity firms, venture capital firms, like cold calling them all day and sending cold emails to get deals done. It's just like the whole essence of the job is just hustle, hustle, hustle. And like I've built that muscle now myself with this, doing it like thousands and thousands of times. And so now I know like what needs to be done and how to teach my VA. So I'm not even doing any of the cold outreach in my business because I can't because I'm busy the entire day. So I take what I'm learning at my job in a very high pressure kind of role, and then writing out the scripts and like and giving the feedback on how these things need to be handled differently, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like it's so clear to me that eventually I'll be like fully on my own, and carving my own path entirely. And I just know that this is like this cold outreach. I'm going to be doing it myself too, but it's like because it's scary. People don't want to like put themselves out there like that. And
Right.
so if you're willing to do it uh, and you can do it well because you have so many reps, then it can be really really valuable.
And for you, having that very high stakes, kind of high stress job that, for that many hours during the week, and then coming into this, I feel like I don't want to downplay service businesses because a business is business. Running a business is hard no matter what the hell you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But just having, like I said, that for you, it's not even a 9 to 5, it's way more than that. But you coming from that into this with already, contacting these multi-million billion dollar private equity firms, trying to get your foot in the door with those guys. And now you're coming in here and calling property managers just to get cleaners and some business. So it's like having that mindset of like being able to call those people and now calling that. It's like you just jumped into the deep end and swam into the shallow end and it helped you get there.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like it has been very valuable experience. in that sense for sure. It's amazing what like reps can do, like to literally change the way you're wired. It's
Absolutely. Is there anybody in your salary job that you've kind of maybe partnered with or gotten, I don't want to say a hookup, like a connection. Have they connected you with anybody, or have you connected with somebody personally for your business to get
so
anything really?
so what? Sorry, can you rephrase
Have
that
Have
again?
you made any connections in your salary position to help your service business?
Um, No, I've got a few people at work that I give them a good rate and I clean their place for them every couple of weeks. But other than that, not really. And like I haven't really had an interest in have like serving friends and friends locally. I like if they want it, like great, you can get it. I typically give them a good rate. But like for me, it's not like that's not a long term strategy or solution. Like, and I don't
Well,
want to.
I'm maybe I misworded it, but has there been anybody who kind of like stepped in and helped you along your path coming from your salary business, like a coworker or maybe
No,
no? Okay.
no, yeah, no, yeah, 100% on me. Yeah.
And now let's go with competition. When you first started, well, let's go with what makes you stand out from your competitors.
Okay, can I just grab my charger from my computer one second?
Yeah,
I just the battery just went
sure.
way faster down than I thought.
So, what makes you stand out from your competitors and your competition?
Um, well, I think one of the main things that I've been focused on is getting five-star reviews, like all five-star reviews, and I do have an average 5.0 star rating on Google My Business. It's 4.9 on LSA because I got one um, unfortunate one-star review that I've been trying to communicate with that customer that like, hey, we'll like come and do like some free work, like whatever. Like, I'm sorry that we weren't able to find somebody for your same day cleaning. I don't know. Like for me, I've also because the margins are so good in the residential space. I have no problem like if it's fair. I think refunding a certain amount or doing some free recleaning. I try to evaluate whether it's like actually fair,
Right.
because I don't want to set standards and policies where we're just like refunding and whatever to appease people if they're totally unreasonable. And but then I say like we need to take the time to like very politely but really clearly and explicitly explain why we're in the right over text. Because when you do that and you have somebody reading that, even if they're a super unreasonable person, like I think it decreases the chance that they're going to write a bad review if they just see how ridiculous they're being, right? And
Absolutely.
so I have like hyper focused on just getting five-star reviews, and I had one-star review before this other one that I called the customer, and because I figured out what happened and I figured out why she was upset. We canceled last minute. Somebody was sick, but she really needed it done, and she was just super upset because she needed the cleaning done. And so I was like, okay, I totally understand your perspective. And all I would do on those calls is I just listen and repeat what I'm hearing back and say, and like just like basically just say, I'm understanding you, and like how can we fix this? And so then it was like, okay, sent out another clean for a free reclean. It wasn't even a reclean because we didn't show up to the other one. But we did a little couple hours of free work, and then she took down the one-star review and put up a five-star review. And so I think like being hyper focused on that is super valuable and important. If I can get it to like 500 5.0 star reviews on my profile, like that's going to be absolutely lethal. Like that's going to be so hard to compete with, because it like I read through the reviews we have right now, and something like, man, these are really good, and just keep like getting those. So I'm sorry, I'm going on like this long tangent about reviews, but I think it's like it's so important for these businesses. Um, Anyway,
Well,
that so that's
let me ask you this: how many of the other cleaning services in your area? Where are you in terms of amount of reviews?
when you look on the Google My Business profile, which is the one that I'm gonna like maintain because it's the one I'm gonna publicly advertise. But I mean, I do get most of my leads through LSA right now, so I really want that one to be a 5.0 as well. But my Google My Business is like I think it's 54, 55 reviews at an average of 5.0. I've got two 4-star reviews on there that were like fantastic. The what the customer said in them was like just glowing, but then they gave us 4 stars. I was like, whatever. I mean, you wrote a really nice review, so that's fine. But um, but so that's like 55 reviews at an average of 5.0. And so I want to maintain that and like really get it up to the 100, 200 at a 5.0. Like that is my goal. And I don't, I think there's other businesses that have hundreds of reviews, but none have an average 5.0 star in the 100 plus review count category. There's those businesses around 4.8, 4.9. And so I think that's something I could really differentiate from competitors. But that's just kind of a summary of the work you're doing publicly online. And so it's probably the best summary of that. So yeah, just focus on maintaining great reviews.
When you were getting started, did you? I don't want to use the word spy. Did you look into these competitors? Were you know, checking their prices? Did you have their cleaners come over to your place and clean your place and see how it was? Did you do any of that stuff, or were you kind of like blinders on, just glanced over their website and that was pretty much it?
Yeah, the latter. Like I did a little bit of like pricing research because I just you have to. But no, I didn't bring it. I didn't get any cleaners from other companies to come clean my place or anything like that. Um, yeah, just some pricing research. I mean, I have now. Now I'm looking at like some other businesses that I know are doing well, and like using. I'm gonna really start diving into the SEO stuff, and I'm gonna learn that myself. But the SEMrush and those like Ahrefs subscriptions are pricey, so I need to have the time to do that. But I'm gonna really start getting my head around that. Like I've got, like I said, the backlinks building to my website, and I'm overhauling all the website. I'm gonna be going through and creating all the links, internal links on the website right now. So I'm gonna really start getting my head around SEO soon, and then as part of that, I will of course be researching competitors.
Um, I had Yelp. Are you on Yelp at all? Do you have a Yelp page, or did you just kind of say, "Meh, screw it"?
I tried Yelp a bit, and I was just like, man, I'm spending so much money here, and like I don't know, like I did not feel I was getting the value out of it. I felt like I don't know if I got one booking out of it, and I spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
How many
So
reviews do you have on there, or if any?
uh, I don't know if I have any. Maybe I have one. Like
I mean,
I have to go double check. Honestly,
I
I
don't want
haven't.
to bash. I don't want to bash, but Yelp is. I mean, there's clearly stories everywhere of, you know, the moment you kind of put up a profile, they're already hounding you to do paid ads through them. But
Yeah,
why, if you don't have the reviews, if you don't have, you know, anything, if one or two reviews, and you're going to start dumping hundreds of dollars a month into ads and you're not going to get anything in return, you're shooting
yeah,
yourself in the foot and burning money like you're on a deserted island and you got to stay warm, you know?
yeah,
So I mean, if you were to try again, I would suggest, you know, getting customers who are already either through LSA or wherever, get your reviews up to 10, 15, 20 before you restart, and then go again. And then who knows, maybe your conversions, you'll get a lot more, you know, leads and turns into bookings. So that
yeah,
could get better, but they are dogs when it comes to getting people to sign up very quickly for paid ads with no reviews.
yeah. Yeah, and that maybe that's a great point. Have you seen other cleaning businesses be very successful with Yelp?
Absolutely. Um, Several businesses I know before LSA came out, a couple years ago when Yelp was everything. Um, that's where they were getting most of their business was Yelp and SEO and some social media ads. But
Yeah,
now that LSA is coming over, I feel like people are running from Yelp just because their business practices were very shady.
yeah.
So,
That's another thing which are like, they like kept charging me. And I said like, I've canceled everything, and they charged me for months. And I'm like, that alone to me was just so like, you're a big company, like you, this is just unacceptable.
well,
Like,
you had that experience with them, and I've talked to other business owners who had well over 100 into several hundred reviews, ranging from, anywhere 1 through 5 stars. And they said when they were paying for their ads, 5 star reviews were sticking left and right, 4 star, all the good ones, bad ones were getting filtered a little better. Or if they disputed a 1 or 2 star, Yelp was more likely to side with the business. Now,
yeah,
the moment they stopped paying for those ads, everything flipped. 5, 4 star reviews, those are all getting filtered, which were already up for several months. Those were now getting filtered, and the 1 and 2 star reviews were sticking so much that they wouldn't even bother listening to calls or emails about, this potentially being a scam or whatever, somebody fishing for something. So, again, when it comes to Yelp paid ads, tread lightly. Make sure your profile is the best it can be. I know there are several guides online that will help you with that. I'm sure Yelp has one. Um, but the biggest thing before anybody starts dumping money into Yelp is having at least a dozen or 2 dozen reviews on there so that it shows,
yeah,
somebody has used you. Because I'll be the first if I see a restaurant or, a new place that I'm trying to check out and it doesn't have any reviews, I'll go to the next one. I don't care. I rather go to a place that's got, 15, 20 reviews and they're a 3.7 versus a brand new place that has zero and the new place is more expensive,
yeah,
you
for
know.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
just me. I know other people are different, but so going towards uh your time, I mean, your time is so valuable, especially with working this 9 to 9 to 9 job, so how much time did you put in the beginning in the business versus how much time are you putting in now?
In the beginning, probably it's come in waves, to be honest. Like, in the beginning, like, probably 30 to 40 hours a week. So, yeah, and then I would say and then there's times when maybe I put in like, you know, 20 hours a week or something, and now I'm kind of lately I've been back up to like 30 to 40 hours a week into the business. But that is not for like managing the day to day. This is like researching and testing and like experimenting with different software, like different cold email software, like figuring out, like getting my head around the SEO, like writing, literally figuring out what my one of the next big projects I have. I have 3 weeks vacation at my job. I took a week of it off in April because I wanted to like do some deep work on the business. And I spent that time, actually a lot of it in Notion, just trying to get my head around like how to really write a standard operating procedure. And you look online, there's just so many different ideas behind this, and there's like it's part art. Um, and so I just like sat there for like days at my computer with writer's block, redoing and restructuring the databases in Notion to like get my what do I want here? What do I really want? And then I kind of had an epiphany at like the ninth day before I had to go back to work, like how to structure this. And like, okay, I think I know what to do now. I just don't I have not had the time to do that yet. But very soon, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to write one of the standard operating procedures out fully, and then I'm going to write the other standard operating procedure on how to write a standard operating procedure. And then I'm going to get my VAs because I've been saying, put it in Notion, put it in Notion, put this note in Notion, put this in Notion, put this in Notion every day when I have feedback. And so we're going to build all of that out, and then I'm gonna figure out how to like incorporate AI into this process and probably use some of Notion's AI to like write out really, really good standard operating procedures, which I think is gonna like build that muscle for the business. And I'm not gonna share too much around this, but I have a lot of like ideas about what that can become in and of itself. Um, and anyway, so actually forget what the question was now, but by
It
spending
was your time in the beginning in the business versus your time now.
yeah, sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there. But yeah, no, the time now is like time the start of the business was for me to learn the business. I shouldn't say that I wasn't involved in the sales and stuff like that at all from the start because I was on the weekends and like I would deal with like issues in the evening because my VA can only be there for 8 hours. Sometimes she would extend to try to like get close to the end of my shift. Um, but there was still a whole learning process with me on the phone on in the evenings dealing with issues, not leads, but then on the weekends dealing with leads. And so I was doing all that in the start to try to like figure out like what we actually needed to do, and I had to like do it myself a little bit to figure that out. And then after that, I was um, able to just listen to their call recordings and then provide feedback and kind of do it one step above the actual work. Um, but now I'm not dealing with customers like at all. I'm not dealing with bookings like at all, at least not directly. My VAs are asking me questions uh, a lot, and so I'll answer questions. But they could probably just manage on their own. I do like giving the feedback because I think it helps me see the issues, which is part of the reason, which is part of the flow of information into Notion for different things that we're going to build out. So I like to be kind of in that flow as much as I can, even though it's a lot because I'm working, and I have to respond super quickly. But now my time in the evenings and on the weekends is focused on all of the strategic stuff and all the different marketing channels and, and ideas like the standard operating procedures, and then adjacent ideas, which I'm not going to get into too much right now. But like the whole, like I said from the start, the whole point of this business for me is to grow the business so that it does well, but then also free up my time so that I can pursue many other business ideas.
Side question is do you plan on once your business gets to a certain point in revenue, do you plan on leaving your salary position and going 100% in this or not?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
100. Yeah.
Okay. Um Now, this is your only business. If you tell me you have another business on top of your work schedule and this business, I'm gonna think you're superhuman. So I'm assuming your only business.
Yeah, it is. I'm actually I just contacted a commercial real estate broker though to go find me some space to open up a massage therapy clinic. So I'm gonna probably do that very soon too.
Where do you find the time?
Um, I don't know. I just got used to it for so many years, like just working like crazy. So
Awesome. Uh, Bit of a think deeper thought question here. Where do you see your business in the next 5 to 10 years?
5 years, I want to be at 4 to 5 million in revenue. I want to be at a million pre-tax margin. Like that would be pre-tax profit margins percent. Sorry. Yeah, I want the business to be doing well. I want to like I'm gonna 100% grow this business, and there's so many other channels like in the commercial space, etc. Um, yeah, I see so much opportunity. So I'm gonna really grow the business and like I'm excited about that. Uh, Also doing lots of other things as well. But I want this business to be doing uh, really well in a short period of time.
Do you plan on keeping it, or once it hits a certain number, you're gonna sell it and go into something else?
Um, I don't know. Like I don't really know why I would sell it. Like I said, from the thing I'm focused on the most, like the guiding North Star is goodwill, creating goodwill. And like that literally means building a saleable asset. And to build a really saleable asset, you have to be removed from the operations and the day-to-day of the business. And so like if that's the case, and I'm able to manage this business in a couple hours of work a week, which is what I want to do, that is goodwill. Like, then why sell it? Like, I don't see any reason to sell it at that point. I can, I if it's 3 hours of work a week and I'm making $1 million a year, like, I mean, these are all aspirational things, right? But if that's the case, then I don't like that's so much more valuable to me than the 4x that I can get on that in the market. Um, And, like, why just, like, hold on to that? I don't know. I probably wouldn't sell. I probably will build, like the goal is to build, like, a portfolio of small businesses and then just keep acquiring and then bolting on other local businesses as well, just growing it and growing it and growing it. I don't see why I would sell.
Okay. More software related. How long have you been using Booking Koala? Has it been since day one, or was there another software that you used previous and you switched over?
No, I've used Booking Koala since day one. Yeah, I found out about it, signed up, liked the pricing structure, liked how easy it was to get into it for a good price to get started. Boom, now you're in the ecosystem. It's it's quite sticky because it's used in so many key aspects of the business. Um, and yeah, so I've been using it the whole time. Like honestly, um, I went through all these different marketing softwares and CRMs and stuff, and tried out Pipedrive and Active Campaign and all these different things. And like, I think I found one now that's really good and I like. But I've experimented with a lot of software, but I haven't like Booking Koala is like the core of the business because it's like managing all the customers, all the bookings, right? So yeah, it's been great.
Have you looked at, I mean, I'm not pushing you to look at anybody else, but just curiosity. Have you thought about looking anywhere else for whatever reason, or you just everything's working well and you're headstrong going forward with your business?
Yeah, I forget what it was called. I think it was like Maid something. I forget, but
Made
it was like
Central?
Maid Central. I think that's what it was. Yeah. So I did look at that, but like their starting price was like 500 a month, and like they don't have any other plan to get you in. And so like for me, it was just like, okay, I'm not gonna do this then. Like I'm not gonna look. I'm not even gonna give it a test trial. It was so I don't know. I looked at it briefly, but I didn't I didn't get into it deeply because it was just so out of my budget at the time.
Okay. So what drew you into using us and why? And also, where did you find out about us?
Twitter, yeah. I mean, I think like there's a lot of different people in the cleaning space talked about Booking Koala and said that they were using it, they liked it. So I kind of found out about it there. I saw the social proof in amongst that community, and yeah, that's where I found out about it. Yeah.
And so now what drew you into using it and why?
I mean, I think what drew me in was that just it was just the number of people talking about it relative to other software, and in the context of this like subcontractor-based business. And so I found out about it, saw the pricing, compared a couple of other options, like I said, Made Central, and it was just I think it's really hard when you're evaluating software to look at like the features pages and all these different because like so many of these like review sites like they their business is based on also like having good relationships with the software providers that they're like comparing and stuff to. At least that's my understanding of it. And so it's hard as a consumer, as somebody that's not maybe like, especially if you're new in the space, it's really hard to like kind of dissect what all these different like there's tons of features and like comparing them to the other
Absolutely.
competitor, and the competitor like says that you don't have this and like no, hey, actually we have this. It's like who's gonna verify that on their website? Like, it's just it's a really challenging thing to kind of digest as a consumer. So, you know, good trial periods are like for affordable prices, and like having that tiered pricing structure that allows you to get in and test things and play around is super valuable. I think the more and more software I've tested, both for this business and just in my like career in general, at tons of different companies. Um, yeah, I think that's super valuable. So that was
Well, I
one of
mean, you kind of have to because you touched on it a little bit where one software says they have it, the other one that one says that other one doesn't have it, but they both have it. Well, yes, they could both have it, but it also functionally wise work differently.
yeah,
So we have smart scheduling. Another software can say they have smart scheduling, but it could work completely different ways. And what we think it is one way and they think is another way, that's where you as a consumer have to come in and, test it for yourself and see what works best for you and your goals. Not everyone's going to come in and be like, oh my God, booking koala, one stop shop, it's all for me. We would love that. That is our ultimate goal. But realistically, it's not going to be like that. That's why there is competition. That's why there are other softwares.
yeah,
Whether they have a bad experience with one of our customer service agents, or, if at one unfortunate time there's an outage and they're down and they get pissed off and they want to leave, there's only so much we can do and provide where we can, help the customers enjoy the platform, get everything they want out of it. But ultimately, it's up to the consumer. So, like you said, going on all these review sites and just reading, okay, this one has it, this one has it, that one has that, that one has that. But you have to go in and actually play around yourself and see what it's like because, for our $57 a month can be a completely different interface inside versus somebody else's, and you might not like ours and you might like theirs. So again, when it comes to that aspect of it, you got to get in there and play around with it. And again,
yeah,
price is another thing. I know we've changed our pricing over the years and have tried different models of pricing. And each time we changed it, we're like, this is it. This is the one. This is the one that's going to stick. And it's like, you don't know until you try, trial
yeah,
and error, and you get response and you get feedback from customers. Um, and one that we thought would have been fantastic several years ago, we phased out, and the pricing structure we're at now has been the longest, has been the most stable, and ultimately is the best feedback we've gotten from customers where they're happy in each plan what they're getting. obviously we have customers who would like things added in other plans, and we still work on that, changing and adding things here and there in each tier. But at the core of it, the price, we believe, for our starter plan, $27 a month, a buck a day, and you can be on the software. And then in the middle tier, where you have very close to everything you need to get started at 57 bucks, and then at the top tier, 197, you get it all. And then obviously once you get into the email campaigns and the hiring, that goes up from there. But I guess I went on a tangent there and and went.
I'm curious, what was your other pricing plan that you thought was going to work previously?
We had another flat rate plan, which was, I believe, we had a forever free plan in the beginning at one point where you signed up, and I think it was up to 10 or 15 bookings a month. You didn't pay anything, and you had just one provider,
Gotcha.
and then basic features, and then the plans went up from there. We also had a per provider pricing model, so it was $5.27 per provider for the highest package. So yeah, if you had 10 providers, you were at 50 bucks a month, but you had the highest tier package. Then the middle was like 377, and the starter package, I can't recall, but yeah, we've changed it quite a few times. And you kind of have to, just like a cleaning service or a pool cleaning or window washing, whatever service business, you're always playing around with your pricing, at least in the beginning, to find out what to know your worth, essentially, and to
Yeah.
see what your customers are comfortable paying, and then from there you can scale.
Yeah, exactly.
So feature wise, and I know when our development team is watching this, shout out to you guys. Hello. They like to know what our customers' favorite feature is and what they can't really live without. So that's my question there. Um, but I will take away a few things. So booking form in general, and overall the whole software. That those two can't be your answers. A little more specific.
Overall, the whole software. Um, hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think okay. Well, the things that are really helpful um, are that I can pay all of the providers, so charge all of the customers and pay all the providers through Stripe, and my VAs can essentially do that for me. They have, the access, and it works really smoothly once the provider is set up properly on Stripe, which has been a challenge with some people. um, but that just whole like integration with charging, um, and then paying out providers and having my VAs do that is really really helpful. I would say like when I started, and I don't know if this is like a favorite feature because it's such a basic thing, but I wasn't putting holds on credit cards, and like that was that was just like such an unnecessary pain, like banging my head against the wall for no reason. Um, Spending all my time chasing down money, like oh my god, like 100% put holds on credit cards or make them pay you in full up front. Like this is not a B2B business with blue chip customers all the time. There's lots of good people out there that will pay their bills, but there are people that will try to scam you. That is just a fact of this business. And so that's something I figured out, and like, oh my god, that literally, what did I spend my hours on? That dropped my hours substantially and my stress. Like, so anyway, putting holds on credit cards. What else? Like, in terms of features that I really, I mean, honestly, like I love that that all of the settings you can go into and like change different things and play around with different things. It's so like there's so many different settings and features that you can turn on and switch. Just the ability for you to fine tune things is really helpful. I think also the support team is really good and really responsive. They get back to you very quickly, and so it's not necessarily a feature thing, but like it helps you actually get into and use all the different features much more easily. I think that's like, like I said, not a feature thing, but it's very helpful and valuable. Um, Other features though that like were not kind of generic things. Um, I wonder what else it would be. I mean, all of the emails that get sent out automatically and the integrations with Twilio and just that communication with the providers and the customers is like super important. And fine tuning that because you need to be setting expectations. Like all my 1 day text and my 2 day text, my 1 day text is like reminders of like all the details of like how our pricing works. And here's what happens in this situation. And if the cleaner needs to extend, they'll do this. By the way, they might not be able to extend because they might have another job. Oh, and there's like an arrival window. Please, just and like just reminding them of all this stuff and like really fine tuning that communication with that automated communication with your customers and your providers over time is super valuable and important. So, yeah, I would say
So
that's another.
automated messages, text messages, emails to the customer, to yourself, to your providers,
Yeah,
um, just basically all those seamless things that, put you on autopilot with the business
yeah,
so that you could focus on growth and not the tedious little things. Like I know before we had the pre-auth hold on the cards, a lot of people were asking for it because they did come from other softwares that had it. Um, and when we gave it, it was a huge feature that everybody loved because of that reasoning. You're getting rid of the scammers. You make sure you get your money. And I mean, there will be times where a pre-auth will fail just because they overdrafted their account, and they are still going to reach out and be like, I pulled money in, and go ahead and charge it again. But at least it will deter anybody who wants to try and scam you to be like, think twice about it.
yeah, exactly.
So now, what is one feature that we don't have that you wish we did?
Yeah, I'll give you two. Um, one that it would be really great is an API integration. So that would be really, really helpful. Um,
And what do you want to use the API for?
I want to be able to um, easily take information in like all the bookings and customers and put it in like Airtable, um, put it into my other CRM system. Um, I want to be able to have that flow seamlessly through to those other two places. It would be very, very helpful. I mean, like Booking Koala, it's great. But like if I want to like slice and dice all the data, I gotta like take it out into a CSV or whatever. And I don't want to do that over and over again. And like I want to like do that one time in Airtable or something. And like, yeah, it's just really helpful to have all that information in a place that's more kind of purpose built to like view and analyze information or data. Um, and so having that API would be super, super helpful. And then also like having it, like I said, to go to the CRM because I haven't used like the cold email stuff in Booking Koala. Like I'm not on that plan, but like I also, I'm not sure that I will. I'll have to get like into it. Like I've found something now that I think is really good for that. And it's kind of it's really purpose built for like lead generation and management, which is like uh a different thing. So Being able to get my data flowing between my other applications would be super, super helpful. Another thing is like sending quotes. Like when you send a quote, like I think that contact should be put into the customer database, or at least like you have another field there that denotes whether they're a customer, which is somebody maybe that's like booked, or a lead, which is somebody you send a quote to. And then like if they book, then it's turned into a customer. I don't know, like whatever the logic is
Right,
there.
right.
But once you like, if you send a quote to somebody, like I don't know, my LSA booking rate is not great. I mean, I don't know what the average is. Mine's like 25 to 30%. Um, and maybe that like we need some more training on sales and like closing these leads. I just don't have a lot of time to do that, and I'm like covering my costs, so like I'm just focusing on other things. But side point, um, when we send out these, like if I can get somebody to send them a quote, and then if they're like in the system, then at that point, and there's not more stuff I have to do. I have to go like enter their details into like my CRM and like Airtable or wherever else, because now you know, if it's just like put into that database right away, that's so valuable because then I don't lose this lead forever. And I'm losing essentially 75% of all the leads I'm getting forever, right? Because we just don't have enough time to like follow up and like write these, uh, write all the details down or the send them quote and put all the details into another database and system. Like if it just flowed, it would be so nice.
Okay. So I will tell you, we do have an overhaul to the leads section coming, um, as well as there is API coming down the line as well. Um, so those are two things there, as well as there was one other thing, but I might be getting ahead of myself. So yeah, those are coming. Again, time frame. I could already hear in my over my shoulder. They're not here, but I could hear it from another room being like, don't give any time frames because
Oh, you can
things always change. So I just hear a little voice in the back of my head saying, don't be giving up time frames.
one month for the API. Okay.
Yeah. Good try. So, last question here. What are going to be some words of encouragement for, anybody who's watching this interview right now, or if you could go back and talk to yourself back in, well, you started in October. Let's call it last summer, the last
Yeah.
June, July when you were thinking about starting something. What are some words of encouragement or just, something that you would say to get them started?
Yeah, I think you have to just take action and just start start building something. Um, do something like this that doesn't require much money to get started. There's no capital. It's not capital intensive. Um, and just get started. You'll see so much more opportunity after you start generating some revenue. Like you'll see that it's possible, and then you just gotta see it through for some period of time, um, and just keep going. Like honestly, like once you have something like this now that you can see will cover your living expenses at the very minimum and will do well for you, like that it opens up your mind to so many other possibilities. But you just have to get started and get in the game essentially. Like uh, there's so much that's possible, but you can't sugarcoat it. You have to work extremely, extremely hard if you want to make anything. Um, if you want to make anything work, I mean, there's a lot of luck involved in life as well, clearly. But that doesn't change that um, the only thing you can control is the work that you put in and the way you treat your customers and providers and the people in your organization, and so just do what you have control over, and um,
The
just
rest
keep,
will fall in.
yeah, just keep going. Yeah,
Well,
so
business is essentially like a baby, you know. You got to nurture it. You gotta take baby steps with it. You gotta help it grow, and watch it grow to a certain point where everything you put into it now has to come to fruition. Like a kid getting older, and once they get to a certain point, there's only so much you could do. So that's kind of the analogy we go by here. Business is like a baby. When you first start, it's a newborn. As the years go on, you will learn things that, work well. You're going to learn things that, you know, don't work well, you messed up on, but it's a life lesson. You learn, you save it in the back of your mind, whether it's bad, good, whatever, but
yeah,
you save it so that you can move forward, and whether it's good or bad, you learn something out of it.
yeah,
So as long as you keep learning with each success and each mistake, you'll get that much closer to your end goal, and you will be ultimately that much better of a person in general and a business person as well. So I think, like you said, just got to take the risk, jump in, and put in the work, because it is work. Nothing comes easy for sure. And with everybody trying to start a business nowadays, you got to stand out somehow. And the one thing that you can always control is how much work you put in.
yeah. That's true, and you don't always want to be working 100 hours a week. But there are periods where you have to do that, and then have to just get through to the other side. So
That's right. And it just becomes a story later on for when you're sitting around talking with friends or family, and reminiscing about the good
yeah,
old days.
exactly. Yeah,
All right, Jason, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And hopefully next year we'll reconnect, get you back on another interview, and see where you're at that spot.
yeah, for sure. It was great speaking to you, Michael, and yeah, take care, and hopefully there's some good updates when we speak next.